Welcome to the Intern Whisperer, the show all about the future of work and innovation.
All right, so my employer intern whisperer tip of the week for employers is be sure to sit down with your interns and evaluate what their goals are and help them understand the value of what they're doing and how it aligns with their goals. Today's guest, it's a Wildcard show, and it is Elizabeth Herbert, who's been the associate producer. She's going to be tagging out here soon. Little applause. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we also have Matt Miller, who was invisible, but has now just come back with us in the flesh, and Dave Francis. So I am very excited about you guys being here today.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
Hi.
Yeah, this is going to be the most fun show ever. All right. So Elizabeth, why don't you kick us off with the first question?
Absolutely. So we're all going to go around and tell everyone 5 words that you would use to describe yourself.
So the 5 words I'm going to make this a hyphenated one. A Jesus girl, that's hyphenated. Potty mouth, that's for sure. You guys have experienced that. 3rd word is teacher. 4th word is, I don't know if I can say it all this way, but Latin wannabe. It's a phrase. It works. And then 5th word would be, we will be open to phrases. Also wannabe artist. Okay. Do you want to know why any of those? Anybody?
Yeah, what kind of artist?
I took as my electives when I was in college, every art course I could possibly take. I loved art. I took illustration, I took drawing. My first art class was at University of Florida, and they threw paper bags up on the stage. And I never knew how hard it was to draw a paper bag until that day, because there's angles, there's shadows, there's creases. And I went, oh my God, but this is incredibly hard. So I had a newfound respect, but I took sculpture, I took painting, I took art, I took jewelry making, you name it, I took it. And I took those classes at Florida. And then I also took them at Rollins College, where I graduated. My major is English, but I really love art. And I wish it was a natural gift to me. But that's why I really like working with graphic designers and a lot of creatives, because I can't play an instrument, but I love being able to, learn from those that are like these guys that are musical.
Out of all those classes that you took, was there one that you really gravitated towards and liked more than the other one?
Oh, that is a good question. I actually like the jewelry making class the very best, because I made myself some rings and a pendant, and I liked it because it's still a really nice memory. I also have my favorite piece of sculpture that I did. And then somewhere, I'm pretty sure I have my illustrations, but I like all art. I have like adult coloring books and crayons and, pencils and everything. It's always around me. And I use that for when I want to de-stress. All right. So who's going to go up next? Matt. Okay. Matt's brave.
Okay. 5 words to describe myself.
Or phrase. We'll be open, right?
Phrase. Okay. Loose rules. I would say ambitious, determined, good sense of humor. I think I'm a pretty good listener as well, and I think I'm a pretty good public speaker as well too. I definitely like social situations, so I think my strong suit is like finessing my way through conversations and situations. I'm a man of many situations.
So I have a question that's going to come off of that one. So have you used that talent for, we'll say, negotiation and words to get yourself out of trouble when you should have gotten in trouble?
All the time. All through high school, all growing up, every mistake that I've ever made, I feel like would have been way worse if I didn't never dishonest, but like silver tongue, slide my way through the situation. I mean, growing up, you don't really listen to what your parents say, and you have to learn from experience, and things could be much worse if I didn't hey, let's let's talk about this first before we start making any rash
The
decisions.
ability to smooth.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I can't think of one particular time, but there's definitely I could probably think of one throughout the show. Definitely.
Yeah, that would be handy. My brother was like that. He could get himself out of any trouble. So we're going to introduce ourselves, but after this question, just so our listeners know what's going on. But this is insightful.
Okay.
All right. Who's up next?
I'll go. I was also going to say ambitious, so I'm going to switch mine to industrious. So I'm industrious, genuine. Other words to describe me, indecisive.
Are you sure about that?
No, I'm not. Not at all. How many is that? 3?
Yes.
All right. Goal oriented and anxious.
Oh,
Mm.
good ones. Those are really good. Honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like commend you because I can see a lot of parallels in myself with that. Where like I am also a very anxious person.
Mhm.
So like, man, definitely hats off to you for the
Yeah.
honesty.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. We gotta, I said genuine earlier, so I had to do it.
Had to live
Yeah.
up to that, yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody's anxious in life. Everybody. I think it always comes back to, for me, it's, my faith and being able to just not be anxious and go, okay. One of the things I like to do when I'm really stressed out, if it's dark, I go out at night and I'll look at the sky and I look at all the stars and I go, okay, I have no problems. Look at how big the universe is. This is nothing. And, when I wake up the next day, I go, oh, yeah, it's fine. And I think God talks to me when I'm asleep. I'm sure he does because that's the only time I'm not going to talk back to him.
that's really funny that looking into the abyss that is space actually what makes you less anxious as opposed to the opposite where it's like
Make you feel small and insignificant.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Oh,
really-
but it's true. I am small and I am insignificant, but it is, Christ in me that makes me all powerful. So I throw that one out there. If anybody wants to talk about their faith, they're free to do that.
I like Neil deGrasse Tyson's take on looking at the universe and feeling big because of it, because he says we're all star matter, we're all pieces of stardust, and it's all the collections of the universe that makes us individuals, that makes us big and significant. So he goes, the universe should make you feel more significant.
Well, yeah. And I flip it and I just go, yeah, I know who's in me. It's Christ. And so I am nothing, but I am everything because of who lives in me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you think, I don't know, sometimes I like thinking about aliens when I get kind of like stressed out. Because one day, like we have all these like little problems and things that are going on, but one day we could meet like an entire other race of being. Like that would be so incredible. And it makes kind of like, oh man, I didn't get my dishes done on time. Oh, that doesn't seem so bad because one day I could meet like this like green human or I don't know, something from like Guardians of the Galaxy. And
Oh,
to me,
yeah.
it just, it all feels like, oh, you know what? It doesn't matter that I didn't do the dishes because I'm going to meet an alien one day. Who cares?
15
Yep.
minutes, we're already talking about aliens, man. You're right. This is going to be an interesting podcast.
Yeah. I love talking about aliens, Guardians of the Galaxy and Men in Black. Like we could go off on that conversation for the whole show.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Elizabeth, your 5 words.
I'd say creative, similar to Matt's sort of like not sneaky, but I can get out of trouble with my words if I want to. I'd say conversational, determined. How many have I done? 4?
4.
4. And actor.
So what's the best, I don't know if your parents listen to the show or not, but how have you gotten out of something with your words?
Oh, I've talked myself out of a couple tickets.
Ooh.
That's my main pride in my speaking ability is kind of being able to say what is need to be said and do what is need to be done to not get a ticket.
Within the confines of the law.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't do anything
We'll say
illegal. No.
Yeah. Okay. No Bonnie and Clyde stuff going on here.
No, not that I'd say on, the internet.
All right. So anyway, for our listeners that are listening or watching our show, so we had a rare opportunity where there was a window of time that opened up and we decided to just do a total wild card show. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about, obviously, the people that have been here on the show with me, but today you're going to learn all about them. So Elizabeth, how long have you been interning here with me?
About 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so she's been the associate producer. She's been fantastic. I love her to pieces. And then Dave, how long have you been here? But you're not an intern. You are the lead sound and music guy. So
Yeah, I've been working with you for just a little over 3 months and doing the music for the video game and helping out with sound effects and music for the podcast has been a lot of fun.
yeah, so they're volunteering. And then Matt, he's the new kid on the block. He's going to break out into dance moves.
Not new kids on the block. I'm more of an NSYNC guy.
Okay. Oh, by the way, NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, they actually practiced in the basement of this building that you're in today. They have a whole recording studio downstairs.
That's awesome.
It is in the basement. Look at Elizabeth's face. She's going, "What?"
That's so cool. Wow.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. That's when they were under the management of Lou Pearlman.
Oh yeah. A good old Lou Pearlman.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah. Anyway, so Matt is the new guy here. So I'd like to welcome you all here and thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
All right. So Elizabeth, you lead us through the questions.
All right. Everybody, could you share a little bit about your education, background, and industry?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. Right out of high school, I joined the military. I was Air Force for 9 years. While I was in the Air Force, I went to University of Kentucky. I was going to study civil engineering. Is what I went to school for there because I liked math, and I was like, well, that has a lot of math in it, so I will try that. I did not do well trying to balance my military career and school at the same time. So there's a bit of a break before I finished up school at Full Sail University and got my degree in recording arts recently through there, and so hoping to use that degree to write music, record sounds, and use.
You're not hoping, you're already doing it.
I'm in the middle of it right now. So
Yeah, he is. He is doing it. He's making a name for himself. And so our listeners would know, you'll see that any of the music that he has done and sound effects are going to be put on the credits. And he's going to give us music for this episode.
That's awesome. You went to be a civil engineer because I tell people now that I'm an engineer without telling them an audio engineer.
Right, yeah.
So I kind of I'm like more important than I actually am. They're like, "Oh,
Oh, wow, man, you must be smart.
yeah, exactly. No.
You do that, huh?
Oh, all engineers are smart. It's hard to be an engineer.
Right on.
So Elizabeth, what about you? Education, background, industry?
Yeah, I'm currently entering my senior year of college at George Fox University. It's a tiny little college up in Oregon, close to Portland. So my background is like middle California, kind of like the boring part with all of the farming and the agriculture. So I grew up with allergies and cows. And the industry that I'm looking going into is sort of nonprofits, specifically around the environment, forestry, I think saving our national parks, and kind of focusing on how, when looking at the future, how we're going to save the planet. Those are all things that I really want to look into and go into.
That's awesome. Do you feel like you went into that industry because of your environment and where you grew up, being a part of like agriculture just in general?
Yes and no. I kind of grew up, my family's like very outdoorsy, but only in really like specific ways. So we would go outdoors and we would walk around like beautiful national parks all the time, like Redwood National Forest. We go there a lot. And then we would go underground into like caverns and, kind of explore different caves and learn about geology. And so my sister went into geological engineering. She's a genius. And so she went into that sort of nature world, but I was more drawn to like human connection and like kind of like conversations similar to this. And I was like, well, how do I get this going with also like my passion for the environment and like seeing the beauty around us and saving the beauty around us. Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you native to Oregon or did you move from somewhere else?
I moved from California.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you were talking about Central California. I've driven through there a few times, and you can actually smell what the farms are growing when you drive by. And it's like, oh wow, that's green onions, or like it's
Absolutely.
really, really amazing out there. The landscape and the
Mhm.
agriculture in California is something.
Absolutely. I don't know if you've ever been there in the springtime, but we have an almond blossom festival. It's
Oh, no.
gorgeous. It
That's
looks like snow on the ground. Yeah.
I lived in Monterey for a little while, so or just yeah, so like that just the
Mhm.
area is amazing.
It's really nice. Yeah. It's a good area if you don't have allergies or if you're not sensitive to the sun. But unfortunately, I do, and I am.
So you're in the perfect spot.
Yeah.
You're in muggy Oregon or cloudy.
Exactly. It rains all the time, so I'm fine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's kind of like, I guess I can go with my background now because that leads kind of into it. Is when I turned 18, like graduating from high school, I kind of just didn't have any direction. I did pretty well in high school, but didn't really know what I wanted to do. So packed up and I drove out to Oregon. I lived in Portland for like 4.5 to 5 years, or like right outside of Portland, like Beaverton, Hillsborough area. And I lived out there and made connections, and I did community college for about 1.5 years, and then ended up taking a break from it, and then just like working and kind of using my communication skills to like find weird jobs, and did like low voltage electrical and various, restaurant gigs and movie theaters and all kinds of stuff. And then decided I really missed my family and I really needed to get a higher education, and drove my butt back to Florida and decided to go to Full Sail, where I'm going to graduate from in about a month now. So I'm getting ready to graduate. So yeah.
Wow. What are you graduating in?
Same thing as Dave, recording arts. So I'm an audio engineer, and I've already picked up this internship and started working here with you guys, and picking up little side gigs here and there. But I definitely wouldn't have gotten in through the door if it weren't for Full Sail. I'm like super grateful for the education.
Mhm. So I wanted to be, well, I don't think this was the question. So my background, my education is, I have an English major. First, I went to University of Florida, my first 2 years, and I was going to be criminal justice. And then I transferred up to FSU, and I flunked out, got sent home, did the walk of shame. And my parents said, well, now you're going to have to put yourself through college. Best thing that ever happened to me, honestly, because when I had to pay for it myself, I had a different perspective. So I was working full time and went to school full time at night at Rollins and finished up, went back to school and got an MBA and went back to school again. And I'm all but dissertation for a PhD, but it will be in leadership with a specialization in human resource development. So, getting stuff out of people, that you want to see, all of the good stuff. So that's really where, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I, got sent home, flunked out, like I said, but, that doesn't define anybody. It's just a blip in the screen of your life. So what I sat down and thought about is, well, what is it I want to do? And I went, well, I really like to read. I like to write. I like to, be able to research. So I went English. I picked the major based on what I always loved to do. And I would write these stories, and Elizabeth, we had talked about it on a previous episode with Jeff. I wanted my name to be Wendy, and I wrote these stories called The Adventures of Wendy. And it was I thought I was a really good writer. They are so pathetically funny. I sit here and I pull them out and I read them, and I have belly laughs so hard because I cannot believe I thought they were so good. They're supposed to be mysteries, like a mystery series. And I said I would pull them out. I'm going to have to find them. Unfortunately, my stuff is in storage. And I have a feeling some stuff was left in the garage of a friend, and the garage got flooded. So I'm not sure if everything that is in the garage that got flooded is gone now. So I'm not sure. I have a feeling that's where it is, because pretty sure I opened up a box and I went, it's all soggy. So pretty sure that's where it is. But that's where I finally decided what I like to do is I really like teaching. And I went into that as a career path, and then I morphed into being an entrepreneur. And honestly, the classroom I felt is the best entrepreneur space I'd ever been in, because they give me here, teach this, and how I get to teach it is totally up to me. So we did puppet shows, we did wall murals, we did, all kinds of acting, and anything that was art related was what I put into teaching. And I was a middle and a high school English teacher. So it was always something that was very, very different. I miss it, but I'm really glad I left. By year 11, I was going, okay, I'm done with this. I cannot do it any longer, because I knew I was supposed to be doing something different, and kids can tell when you're done. People can tell. And it's just like, oh my God, I don't want them to think I don't like them. It had nothing to do with them, really. Anyway, so I went into nonprofit, and I've been in nonprofit the whole time as a teacher. I would put on, and you guys will like this, I was a prom sponsor. So my job was to put on and raise $40,000 for a prom, which was more money than a teacher made, and still is. And I went, how am I going to do that? So I put on Battle of the Bands. And so we had this, and I charged a fee for the kids to come in and just audition. And then I had talked to Full Sail, and they donated a weekend time in a sound, a music studio. And I got a whole, and I had zero budget. And I went, I have zero budget. How do I do this with zero budget? And I raised $40,000, and it was ticket sales and this band thing. And to date, they still do this Battle of the Bands there. And it's one of the biggest fundraisers they have.
The three things that you would have saved in a fire, yeah.
The three things that I would save in a fire would be my Bible. Honestly, it has a lot of notes in there. The second thing, if I could save it, would be the pictures of myself and my brothers and my mom and dad. And the third thing that I would take, honestly, there is nothing else. Those are the two things that matter to me. That's it.
There you go.
Yeah, there's nothing else that can't be replaced. And even those things, they're in me. So it doesn't matter. Just get people out of the house. That would be the thing. If I had to pick, it's going to be people over anything.
For sure.
Animals, yeah. Living things, for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Elizabeth? If there was three things that you could get from a burning building or your burning house, what would it be?
That's horribly poignant, since I am from California.
Oh man.
Yeah, the burning state.
Yeah. I have actually had to think about this before. So I know my grandpa makes wooden things every Christmas. He makes like a wooden sort of box or a chest, or when we were like really little, he made these huge like toy chests for us as kids. So I would save a safe that he made for us, and it's like a really quality safe with like a key and like a lock and everything. So I saved that. And my grandfather on my mother's side tracked our family lineage, and he wrote it all down in this like beautiful framed sort of calligraphy-esque thing. So I would save that because it tracks all of our heritage back to Norway, and when we were like royalty in Norway, which is kind of cool. So I saved that. And the third one, I don't know. Probably something that my sister has painted for me. She's painted a couple things for me, and I love them all very much. So, yeah. How about you, Matt? What would you save?
Oh man, a little embarrassing. Not really though. I've had this bear since I was like before I was born. My aunt got it for me. It's made out of like thermal material. So his name is Thermy. He's Thermy the bear.
Nice.
He's traveled with me all across America, there and back. So definitely him. Man, I have kind of a zoo at my house. Just lots of animals and insects and spiders and all kinds of stuff. So like it would be hard to like, I would like lump sum all of my animals. For sure my two cats, but like,
Yeah.
the bird, the bearded dragon, the everything. So I'm gonna just like lump all my animals into one. If that's okay.
Yeah.
I know I don't have that many hands. And that's probably it, honestly. Like if the animals are good, if I can open the door and they can do their thing, let dogs run free, then just my bear, really. I think I'm good with everything else. What about you, Dave?
My computer, my cat, and my knives. Yeah. So
Knives, explain the knives, Dave. Explain the knives.
I was a butcher for 5 years, and so I like trimming chicken and cutting steaks and making roasts and things like that. So I like my knives. I like my knives to be good quality.
These are like real cutlery, though.
Yeah.
This isn't like
No.
This is like, wow.
Did being a butcher like change how you look at animals or how you look at meat in general?
No, not really. It did teach me how to look at some of the information that is given to people about agriculture and things like that, because some of it can be blown out of proportion, and people will like put, they'll say, farm raised fish is not good for you, and they'll say it for all fish, and that's not true. There's healthy ways to farm raise fish. It doesn't fall under that, what everyone thinks, like, oh, if it's farm raised fish, then it's bad for you. So it's those misconceptions that kind of get, given to people. So one thing that I did learn from there was actually do some more looking into how animals are treated at the facilities that they're raised and things like that. Because no one wants animal cruelty. It's like the worst thing in the world. You should be buried below the prison if you're cruel to animals. So it's just one of those things that, you want it done as humanely as possible. And there's some companies that do it well and some that don't. And I think that's more important than watching like a documentary and making like a broad spectrum judgment over the whole process.
Yeah. Deep diving into one source, like, well, does this person correctly raise these animals?
Right. Well, I'd have people come in. It's like, oh, I heard grass-fed food is better for you. So they'd come in and ask for grass-fed chicken, which is not a thing.
What do they think chickens eat?
That chicken's malnourished and it's not going to be good. So just little things like that. Or there was one lady, she came in, she wanted, she heard about wild caught fish is better for you. So she insisted that she only wanted wild beef. And I said, that's not a thing. Like, but there's not a guy in Montana, hunting cow somewhere, like that's not a thing. So just those sorts of misunderstandings with they'll hear kind of a buzzword and think that it's perfect for everything. So yeah, so that's what I learned butchering, other than knife skills. So.
I guess you could have a deeper appreciation for your food too and where it comes from, because you don't have that disconnect from like how it's made and where it comes from.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
You get to see how,
very
literally how your meat is made.
And so,
how the sausage is made.
Exactly.
Yeah, the less it's processed, the better.
Right.
So that's good. That's a good rule of thumb for just about anything.
That's super interesting. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, who knew? I can't even, I feel sorry for the person that came in asking for grass-fed chickens. I went, man, they've got a bigger problem in life if they don't know what chickens eat.
It was every single day.
Oh my God, that is just so sad.
Mm-hmm.
And these are adults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe it's just that one person, but I feel like as kind of a society, we kind of have a disconnect between like how food is made and then how it gets to you,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fork to table. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, like there's a lot of things going on about like almonds and how much water almonds take, and everyone's like, oh, give almonds less water, but they don't understand like the agricultural processes that go on behind that and how imperative almonds are kind of to the economy and also to everybody who eats them and doesn't even realize like how much almond product they consume. There just seems to be a big disconnect between people and like food, and they want it, but they don't want to know how it's made. And if they learn like even a snippet of how it's made, they're unhappy about it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Almonds were such a hot button topic, like coming out the gate swinging.
I know. It's like it's a nut. Why does it matter? But it matters.
You said there were almond festivals in your hometown?
Mm-hmm. Big ones. Yeah. So obviously it's something I know about.
Yummy. Almonds are so good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw a question out here for us. What did you want to be when you were a child? What was your dream job? What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I
Pop
wanted to
star.
work with
Oh.
airplanes.
All right,
Airplane.
this is a very good question. Everybody's chiming up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with Elizabeth first. Pop star.
Oh yeah. I wanted to be the next Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez. I was for sure gonna do that. I was, singing in my shower all the time. I really thought I had something good going on. I would sing in front of the church. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't take off.
Because you didn't have your own YouTube channel. That's why. And you were not on America's Got Talent or The Voice or whatever.
It's true. I guess
Yeah.
my parents wanted me to grow up normal.
Yeah.
You want to be a sane person with a healthy mental stability.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So who wanted to be the pilot? Who was that?
Oh, I
Is
wanted
that what
to
I-
work. Growing up, my dad was in the Air Force, and so lots of airplanes in the house. I always played with airplane toys and things like that growing up, and I just thought airplanes were just neat. We went to, aviation museums and all kinds of stuff like that. So I was that nerdy kid. I'd tell you all about. It's like, this is an F-22, and it
That's
can do
awesome.
this. And I was like, nerd. But then I got to high school and I started playing music and playing bass. So of course I wanted to do something with music, but that was just kind of one of those rock star, the band's gonna make it. It didn't make it. So
Yeah.
But you did
Yeah.
fulfill your childhood dream. You went into the Air Force.
I did, and I did the music thing. So
Hey.
And he still is. He's making that as a career choice. So that's good. Matt?
Actually, I wanted to ask Elizabeth, you wanted to be a pop star, and you mentioned earlier in the 5 words that described you that you're an actor or an actress. Do you think the pop star dream kind of fed into the actress dream? And you mentioned Miley Cyrus, who is both. There's still hope for you, right? You could still be a pop star.
Well, I sure hope so. Yeah, no, for sure. That's one of my majors here at college is theater. So I'm trained in it. I can act fairly decently, I would say. And I also take voice lessons. So still living the dream, just on a smaller scale. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
but I definitely think they kind of fed into each other, the kind of love of being on stage and sharing what I'm doing with other people.
Very cool.
yeah, that's awesome.
So Matt?
Oh yeah. Oh, I wanted to be a professional skateboarder. I started skating when I was 5. My uncle left his old Dogtown board. I still have it. So actually, I'll revise that. That's one of the items I'll take out of the burning house too.
Okay.
Totally proud I have it. It's on my wall. It's my uncle's old Dogtown board, and yeah, I played on that when I was 5 at my grandparents, and and then from there I was just super into it, and I've skated ever since. I still skate. There's pictures of me when I was 5 doing the same thing now, and all throughout growing up, always I wanted to be a professional skateboarder, and my parents said I could do it. And when I was super young, I was really good, but I peaked early, and I never really got over that hump. And I was around 16 where I was like, oh, this isn't going to pan out for me. I need to think about something a little bit more practical. I want to be a musician, right? Because that's the next.
Yeah,
the next
right after
thing.
skateboarding.
Yeah, exactly.
Really steady jobs,
Exactly. So yeah, I want to be a professional skateboarder, and that did not pan out.
Wow, that's very cool. I actually just started skateboarding this summer.
That's
I always
awesome.
wanted to get into it, and I was like, ah, shit, darn it, I just got some money. I'm gonna go buy a skateboard.
I got a sound bleep I got to make now. What sound do you want
Sorry.
to
Quack, quack.
one earlier a couple weeks ago?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If anybody is getting into skateboarding, support your local skate shops. Go to local skate shops. Don't go to Zoom.
There is one here in Orlando. Did you know that, Matt?
Yeah, Plus Skate Shops. The man that runs it, Keith, is an incredible guy. I love Keith.
That's not the one I'm talking about. There's an actual skate park. It's over here.
OSP, Orlando Skate Park, right over here.
It's near the Fashion Square Mall.
Yep, that's OSP. I'm over there. Caesar, the guy that runs that, he's super cool too. There's a lot of professional skaters that came out of Orlando, so it's a pretty well established community, and everybody kind of knows everybody, and
That makes
so it's
sense.
awesome.
I think they used to have a different name. And so that's why it's throwing me off, because I'm going, wait, what is that? Just so you know, it says that my computer says low system resources may affect your audio quality.
If only you had some audio people that you knew.
Oh, if only there were some audio people that were around. I just think that was funny that that's what popped up, and I went, oh, Gosh, that would be a good thing to have. So what I wanted to be was a lawyer. And
Ooh.
that's why my major was criminal justice. And then I decided, well, I didn't go that route because I worked for some lawyers and I had them as friends. I went, they're really stressful. They don't seem happy. I don't want to be around them. So I decided not to. And when I went in to start teaching middle and high school, I went, well, I guess I still am because I was teaching at risk and they were always in and out of JDC. And I was at risk and basic and average standard, they called them standard, and then honors. But the ones that were at risk and basic, I was really, really good with them. And I say that with confidence because at the time, no, I did not think I was. But no other teacher would take them. And so I was the new teacher. And as the new one, that's what I got. So it was survival mode. I learned how to survive in the jungle. And I came to love them. So yeah, I would say, and so I was going to be a lawyer and go work in, or maybe in the prison system. So I went into public education, still doing it, just different group of people. So.
At what, I'm sorry if you already said this and I just didn't hear it, but at what age did you want to be a lawyer? Were you like 6? And you're like,
Oh,
"I wanna go-"
12. 12. I knew when I was 12, I wanted to be. Now my zodiac sign, and I don't put a lot of weight into that, is Libra, and that's the scales of justice. So it totally aligns with who I am at my core. And I was always trying to argue and debate things. And maybe it was a seed that was planted, something my parents would say, well, you should be a lawyer. And I went, oh, that sounds so cool. Then I worked with them and I went, no, I don't want to.
Were you ever on the debate team?
No, I wasn't. I took the classes, but no, didn't like it.
Oh.
I think that you have to do that all the time. When I'm as an entrepreneur, I sit here and I think all the time it's problem solving and finding, okay, so what's the next plan? Plan A, plan B, plan C. And so I feel like there's this place of it actually did fulfill in many ways what it is that I do because there's a lot of problem solving. So I'm going to jump over. We're supposed to take a break for Cat 5 Studios here. So let's get a word from our sponsor.
The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Cat 5 Studios, who help you create games and videos for your training and marketing needs that are out of this world. Visit Cat 5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat 5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat 5 Studios.
What kind of extracurricular stuff did you guys do in high school? Like band, like you brought up the debate team. Did you do anything, or prom committee, I guess, is what you brought up earlier?
No, I did that as a teacher.
Oh, okay.
I was in charge of that as a teacher. In high school,
Yeah.
I was a swimmer. I was on the swim team. I was a lifeguard. I taught swimming. So sports, I did gymnastics. And I don't know if you guys know what this is, a wrestler.
I don't know what that is.
Is that a female wrestler?
Were you like a
No, it is not a female wrestler. So at my high school, Lake Brantley High School, they wanted everybody to feel they were part of something. And so not everybody could be a cheerleader. I wanted to be a cheerleader. I wasn't. I wasn't on the official cheerleader team. I was a cheerleader, just to be clear. And so to give anybody that wanted to participate in team sports a chance, they had every team, whether it was basketball, volleyball, track, whatever, they had their own team, their own squad of girls that could participate and support them. So I was on the wrestling team as one of their support people, and they called us wrestlerettes. And so we kept track of, the time on the mat. We were the timers. And then we also would cut up all of the oranges and bring them to, like, it's a big deal, but cut up the oranges and bring it to the guys for the wrestling meets. We also sold tickets, and, we did anything that was needed to support the wrestling team. So we had, our uniforms and everything. And so that's what I did. But swimming was everything for me, and gymnastics. So let's ask that same question of everybody then. So Dave, you asked the question of me. Now you answer your question.
Yeah, well, I was in band. I played tuba in band, marching band and concert. Just because I wasn't nerdy enough to play the tuba, I was also part of, we had a robot team where we'd build robots and they would,
Battle bots.
kind of, there was like a obstacle course that your robot had to navigate through, and there were other schools that had robot teams and whatever. It was
That's
fun
awesome.
though. It was
That's
kind
so
of,
cool.
it was kind of cool learning how to get those things working and stuff like that. So yeah, as if I wasn't working my job at Sabaro's Pizza in the mall, I was either doing robot team or being in band. So
You had such a movie life. You worked at the mall.
Yeah.
You're in tuba.
oh yeah.
He sounds like every teen movie that you ever saw.
Like a
Mhm.
side character, Fast Times at Ridgemont High or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So true, so true.
What
How about you, Matt?
Oh, I was in orchestra. So I played cello for like 7 years. Yeah, 7 years, because I started when I was in 6th grade, and then I played cello all the way up until I graduated high school. That's pretty much it. I was not a fan of school when I was in school. I really liked orchestra. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And then other than that, I didn't really join any clubs or extracurriculars. I didn't go to prom. I didn't do any of that. I didn't go to like the grad night. I walked and then I went up to Oregon and that's it.
Fair. Walked all the way to Oregon.
Pretty much, yeah. I was like, see you guys.
Oh my God, so funny.
That's cool, man. Cello's like my favorite instrument. Like it sounds like the best. I love the cello.
Dude, I got so lucky. Everybody wanted violin and nobody wanted to play cello. And my best friend played viola. And I was like, I don't want to do what he's doing. I want to do my own thing. And just kind of stumbled upon like one of the 4 cellists in our orchestra.
Yeah, you just want to be first chair. I got you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was always second chair.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh yeah, I was also in the band. I only played trumpet though, nothing like cool like a tuba or a cello. I was also on the debate team for a couple years, and that was a lot of fun. I also wanted to be a lawyer for a while, and then I realized I wasn't that good at debate. I just liked talking a lot. I played a couple sports, but only like the really weird ones, like golf and tennis and cross country.
Golf's not weird. Golf is awesome.
It is hard. It is hard, I think.
It's a tough sport.
Mm-hmm.
You have to bend this elbow, keep this one straight, do this and this and this. It's like so many things. Just let me drive that golf cart and I'll have a good time.
My way around a golf course.
Absolutely. We also had a robotics team. I don't know if robotics is like,
It is a big deal. It is.
It's a big deal. I was sort of on it, but I was similar to a wrestlerette. I was just there for vibes, hanging out. I didn't do any of the actual work. I just stood around and made fun of all the nerds.
Like the attention.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And I liked giving the attention. So yeah,
Pretty
and I'm
cool.
all active, of course too. But
Do you still
All right.
Do you still golf or play tennis or any of the? Are you still running? Do you still do cross country kind of stuff?
I messed up my hip in cross country, so I don't do a whole lot of running. Tennis sometimes when my sister's playing, I'll go out and hang out with her. Golf, I'm pretty good at mini golf.
Mm.
You know,
Valuable skill.
Yes.
right?
A lot more than you'll use any like 9-iron skills or anything, right?
What do you think that's 175 from here to there? No.
Yeah.
This is a par 3. Oh, I'm gonna shoot it too.
So I have a question here. The most influential person in your life and why? Well, I'm gonna guess for Matt, it's his dad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's easy. It's for sure my dad. Like, I mean, both my parents are great, but like, man, I just always thought my dad was the coolest guy. He still is the coolest guy. Every time he's got such a great sense of humor. Like, I'm 100% the way I am because of him and my mom combined. But like, man, it's my dad for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. That's good.
Elizabeth?
Very cool. My sister, she's like my best friend, and she's way smarter than me and has a way leveler head. So I go to her for anything and everything. And also, she's wicked funny.
Dave?
My grandpa on my mom's side. He's just a really, really intelligent and kind person, and I'd like to be more like him. he's a huge influence on me.
Yeah, that would be hard for me to say which one. It's like my mom, my dad, and my brother. My brother, Matt, is like Dos Equis man, like your dad. He is truly the coolest guy I know, because he also can build a 56 Chevy from the ground up, welding tools. He has built custom tables, pool tables, and sold them. He's built, because he smokes cigars, he makes instruments out of them. And he is a helicopter pilot, and he's done special missions and flown and done all kinds of stuff. The kind of things that he's done, he says, well, I'd have to kill you if I told you what it is, and he means it. So he is truly, and I say that to him. I said, you're like Dos Equis. You're like really, really cool. But I am never afraid to say, hey, take it down a notch. You're not that cool. Because sometimes he gets a little full of himself. Yeah. But my dad and my mom also, because at one point in time, I was really, like always, I would say, rebellious and pretty argumentative. I am the best and the worst of my parents. So everything I didn't like about them, I realized I am those things. And before my mom died, I know I had said this, but to both my mom and my dad, I said, I am everything that I love about you guys, and you taught me to be really strong and thoughtful and be able to take care of myself and be independent and all of these great traits. And I went through a list of all of them with them, each of them separately on the phone. And I said, also the things that I don't like about you guys, but I have learned to accept those things about myself and also about you guys. And you did the best that you did. And they just both started crying, each separately, but it was probably the best thing I could ever say, because it extended a lot of grace and forgiveness. And it was something that my mom definitely needed to hear before she passed away. So, yeah, look for the best of everybody in every ways. And I think it's a happier place. So it'd be hard to say. It'd be really hard to say.
I think that's interesting. Like as I get older, and I'm sure everyone can attest to this, like I realize more and more every day how much I am like both my parents. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how my mom would have said that. Or it's like, man, you reacted to that just the same way you're like my dad would have. And like whether it's positive or negative, like it's very, very obvious the older I get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we have time to ask our own question that we wanted to ask each other. So does anybody want to go first?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would it be and why? Something really easy. Just to
No
start
more
off.
construction on the freeway.
That's a good one. I was just driving up to Oregon, which is about an 11-hour drive, and I got held up for about an hour because of construction. It was just awful.
Something in my control that I wish that I could change. I hope to bring the ability for artists to share music, bring the ability to artists who are typically, they don't have a lot of money, and give them more ability to spread their art and to share it with other people without a lot of hidden fees or legal things and things like that, and make it things easier to share music. So that would be the one thing that I hope to change in the world.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Matt?
Oh man, I mean, like aside, you kind of feel bad answering the question, right? Because if it's only one thing, you're like, well, what's more important, right? Like hunger, or is it? It's the construction for sure. Yeah. Chick-fil-A to be open on Sundays. But it's something like, I don't know, probably like something that like I wouldn't really even have control over, or something. It's just like mindfulness. Like I wish more people were just like mindful of like their surroundings and like each other, and like, we all kind of have to share the space that we're in. So let's try to make it like tolerable for everybody, and like just be a little bit more mindful of everything. I guess that would be it. Or Chick-fil-A open on Sundays.
Yeah.
Either.
Well, that's a day that's, part of their spiritual
It is Sabbath.
mission and vision.
I get it. but I need my chicken too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Matt. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so I'm on the fence. I would agree with you, Matt. Mindfulness. I think that would be, it would either be that or, yeah, and I feel like that encompasses a lot more because I'm going, the need to take care of our planet. I'm going, oh my gosh, we need to pay attention to our climate, to how we use water, to how we eat food and how plastics and everything that's in the whole world, like take care. Mindfulness. I'm going to go with that because we should be careful about the words we use and how we say things to people. We need to be present and we need to think about impact. All right, Matt, what's your question that you want to ask everybody?
Oh man, you can't just drop a heavy question like that into like this goofy, like, oh, what's your favorite movie? Like,
But maybe we should because we need something lighthearted.
I'm gonna switch it up. If there was one thing that you could just be magically good at and not have to put any work into it, what would it be? Like, just
Ooh.
I would love to just be able to pick up the guitar and shred, but like, I don't think I have the diligence for that.
Yeah, but you just said that you're magically good at, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to have diligence.
So yeah,
You're magically good at it.
yeah, just guitar.
Man, piano. I mean, if we're sticking with the music, but I think I wish I was better at being extroverted. Can I say that one?
That's a good one.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very introverted, and it's just a lot of hard work for me to to not be introverted. So, so yeah, I wish I could more naturally just pick up that skill. That'd be awesome.
That's a great answer. I would have never guessed
Very practical too. Yeah.
Elizabeth?
I wish I could pick up languages really easily. Because I tried to learn Gaelic last summer. Did not go very well. I learned like 2 words and I have no idea what they mean anymore, but I know them.
That's a really good
That's
answer.
a really good
Yeah.
answer. Dang it.
Yeah, I think I want to switch. And I want to switch my most inspirational person from my dad to Tony Hawk. 'Cause Tony Hawk's
Oh yeah.
Can we start this over?
yeah.
Yeah, well, you already did, so it's in the actual close of the show now. Yeah.
Not you.
I believe it would be the ability to speak multiple languages. I would love to know what people are saying when I'm standing in the line at the grocery store or in the line anywhere. Like, what are those conversations that they're having? I just want to be able to, like, it's almost like a superpower. You can understand every language and then you can sit here and then just like, they're going to think, oh no, I don't know Korean. And then I turn around and go, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to go, what? She doesn't even look Korean. How does she know that language? It's kind of like being invisible, but then you turn around and you take the cloak off and go, surprise, I'm here.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Figure
Yeah.
out they're all talking about you behind your back because you don't speak their language. You're like,
Maybe, maybe, but it probably has nothing to do with me. And it's like, something horrible that happened in their family or something wonderful, right? It could be anything. So it's so random. Dave, what's your question?
Oh man, I'll go easy. What's the last movie you saw in the movie theater?
I saw Tenet.
Tenet?
Yeah, I saw it when Tenet came out in the theaters. It was like one of the first big blockbusters
Yeah.
to come back, and I was so excited.
I heard that movie was very confusing. I haven't seen it yet.
Dude, I mean, it's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was okay. I was very disappointed. I was really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm a Nolan fan. I
Yeah,
like
me
Christopher
too.
Nolan movies, so.
Gosh, I don't even know. You're talking like 2 years have gone by. I'm sitting here thinking, what was the last movie I saw? I really don't even know.
Just last movie you saw in general, did you watch anything on Netflix or?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I'm watching Coded Bias. It's a documentary about the bias that each one of us has and how it's actually built into the code of what we think it's not having bias. And it is really, really interesting. It's on Netflix.
Very cool.
I would say watch that one.
I just watched Night House in theaters. It's a horror movie.
Oh
I
my
love
God.
horror movies. I know. but it's really good. It's very trippy. They introduce everything in a really unique way, very cool perspectives. It's also kind of sad, but it's really good.
Night House, when did that come out? Is it pretty recent?
I don't know, actually. I just saw it and I was like, hey, Lauren, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, Lauren's my sister. Hey, Lauren, I'm leaving tomorrow. I want to go see a scary movie. She's like, let's go to this one.
All right.
Yeah, it's really
I'll
cool.
check that out. I like scary movies.
Me too. Big
It's
horror
worth
movie.
it.
Mhm.
How about you?
The last one I saw was last week. I like this show from the 90s. It's called Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, dude.
Well, they do it live, like in theaters now, like once a month. So
So
like I went to the theater to go catch one of their shows last week or the week before, and that was a blast. It was so funny. So they made fun of this really cheesy 80s B movie called Hobgoblins, and they just, oh, man, they tore it to pieces. It was a great time.
Dude, I love
Mystery
It's
Science
so
Theater.
good.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Those are the kind of movies I like too. Or
Yeah,
like
the
you
B-
mentioned horror movies. I love B-list like terrible horror movies,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
super gaudy 80s, like
Mhm.
all the squibs and big fan.
Oh yeah. So yeah, they're doing a Halloween one next month. I'll let you know.
Dude, yeah, let's
Yeah.
go.
All right.
Okay, so here's my question for you guys. And I totally changed direction from what I was originally going to go with. What sound effects should we use in this episode? If you could pick only 3, you can only pick 3 sound effects. I'll go first. So we've talked about the superheroes somewhat, but like, or superpowers to me. We've talked about horror films, so I'm thinking a Scream should be in there. That would be kind of interesting. We didn't actually get to talk about this, but I'm throwing it in right now. You two look like Wayne's World. So I think we should have Wayne's World, like one of those in there. And the third sound effect that I think that we should have is something that's along the lines of the things that we would rescue if something was burning. So like fire crackling.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Okay.
All right. So anybody else can go next.
I thought maybe some of the agricultural stuff that some of the farm sounds that we got already from the agricultural one would be okay for when Elizabeth was talking about living in California and the farms and stuff like out there.
Almonds.
The almonds. Record some almonds just up to the microphone.
Crunch.
Maybe some school sounds as well. We went over education.
That would work well with what do you want to be when you grow up? Like the sounds of the playground?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, those 2. Or those 3. Yeah.
That's fine.
I would say like a golf club whoosh.
Whoosh.
There's a very-
Whoosh.
a very like distinct whoosh like of a golf club and then hitting
Click.
the yeah, exactly. I think that could be timed pretty appropriately for the
Mhm.
conversation. Maybe some plane sounds or some aerospace stuff because we talked about your background in and planes and your interest in that. And then maybe some skateboarding sounds, some like grinds and things like that. I already have a pretty big library of those. So
All right.
Mhm.
do some stuff like that too.
Nice. I was also going to say skateboarding sounds for sure. Maybe some robot-y sounds, some sort of technical thing.
Yeah.
And maybe
I think that's on your list.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is on your
Oh
list.
no, that's on.
Is that on Miguel's list?
Mhm,
Okay.
the servo sound. and
Okay.
stuff.
and maybe some sort of like I don't know, like not smooth talking music, but like jazz music.
Elevator music.
Yeah.
Some lettuce.
Some lettuce. Chill hop, like lo-fi beats to study to.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
All right. Well, we are at the end of our show. So thank you to our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios. Thank you to our production team, Elizabeth Herbert, associate producer, intern, sound and music engineers, Dave Francis, Matt Miller, and Miguel Sintra. He is our sound engineer. So employers, be sure to visit Intern Pursuit at internpursuit.tech to learn how you can also be an employer for change. And thank you for supporting our podcast and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast channel. So guys, this was an awesome show.